Welcome back, guys. JT here, and the much requested video is finally here. We're going to be talking about soul ties. Soul ties with the narcissist, or as they say, the unbreakable bond. Let's get into it. All right, guys, we are here again. JT here. Thank you all for being here on this beautiful Sunday. I'm feeling a little tired today. I had some crazy dreams last night. We'll talk about that because, of course, the narcissist was in it, and I very rarely, if maybe like once every 2 months, will have a dream about the narc. I woke up 3 different times, and she popped back in my dream 3 different times. I'm like, God, just leave me alone. Leave me alone. I'm trying to live my life. So today we're going to be talking about the narcissistic soul tie, or as they say, the unbreakable bond. And this is going to be part 1. We're going to be just talking about what the soul tie is, all the details of it. And then in part 2, which most likely I will do tomorrow or the following day, we're going to be talking about how to break it. And in the breaking aspect of it, I'm going to give you 2 different ways, because I know a lot of people are godly, praise Jesus, and I'll give you the proper way to do it in that aspect. Then I'll give you the way in the spiritual aspect to do it that way. So you have 2 different options on how to break the soul tie depending on your belief system. So let's get into it. And please like and subscribe. I really love reading all your guys' comments. I really appreciate them. It's really opened up my eyes towards how much terrible, evil, narcissistic people are in the world, and it's more now than ever. I can't even comprehend how many narcissists are just walking around. It's absolutely crazy. And again, I appreciate all the comments from you guys. Comment on this, and let's get into the video. So we're going to be talking about the narcissistic soul tie. What is it? So it is essentially a connection or an attachment to someone that is not pushing you forward in God's purpose or in your most authentic self, right? You have an attachment, a connection to someone else that is not allowing you to be on God's purpose or to become your most authentic self. You're connected. You're a part of something else. You're trying to get away from that soul tie, have your own soul, that's it. You're not connected to someone else's soul. It's all you, or you and connected with God, and you're living your correct life purpose. So what are some signs and symptoms that you are in a soul tie? Number 1, you can't stop thinking about them. You're ruminating on them. Oh my God, this was like months and months and months and months for me. It's like always thinking about them. I'm like, why? Why? There's got to be a reason. And of course I, did all the research and went down tons of rabbit holes. And I'm like, God, there's got to be an answer. Like, it's just like all the time, like nonstop. And it's because you have a soul tie, because you are like in the spiritual realm. You are connected to this person's soul. So it's like one soul, you're combined. So it's like you got 2 minds. It's annoying. You're like, man, I just want to be me and I just want to focus on my life. And you can't focus on the things you're doing. I had a comment from a young man the other day that said, I don't know if he was a young man, could have been an older man, but he said that he always has brain fog, and it's been like 8 months and he can't get out of that brain fog. And that happens a lot of times when you get in that soul tie. It's just like you feel like you're not 100% yourself. Like you don't have control over your own thoughts and over your own mind. And oftentimes you can feel this long after the discard, long after. So if you're still thinking about the narcissist and it's been months, years, you 100% have a soul tie, 100%. Even in their absence, it feels like they have power over you, right? And like, I definitely felt this for a while. It's like, because they're trying to rope you back in. They're trying to pull you back into that toxic cycle. When you have that soul tie, that connection, that energetic bond, that energetic cord, by them thinking about you, and a lot of these narcs are witches and warlocks, guys. My narc told me she was a witch multiple times. And in the beginning, I just thought she was weird. Like, she would tell me stories of childhood, doing the Ouija board and doing like black magic in her early 20s and a lot of shit. And I just thought she was like a weird girl. I never believed in like witches, warlocks, zombies, vampires. None of this. I'm like, that's like juju. Like, never believed it. But a lot of them are witches and warlocks. They do a lot of word magic, a lot of love spells. My narc did love spells against me. 100%. I'll talk more in other videos about it. I don't want to go into depth. I want to keep this video as short as possible. And another thing is, if you feel overly emotional about the separation. So after the separation, if you have times where, you know, you're thinking about it and it's like overly emotional, like, what the hell is it? Why am I like so emotional? It's because you have a soul tie. You're feeling their feelings as well. That's why you have to break the soul tie. You have to. You have to live your most authentic self. As long as you have a soul tie with a narc, it's like you'll never move on. You know, you're not free. You're a slave. You're a slave to someone else. And that's what the narc wants. That's why the narc has so many supplies of all these different people. They're all slaves. My narc had, she said this many times, how people from 10 years prior would still be calling her all the time because they didn't go on their healing process. They didn't go on a spiritual journey. They stayed in a soul tie with the narc. And the narc gets energy off of all of these people. It's crazy. It's crazy. Let me know if your narc too was attractive, like extremely attractive. And there's different levels of this, and I'll talk about this in other videos with the Jezebel spirit. It's a hierarchy. And you know, when the narc picks a vessel, if they're very, very attractive, they're a high up Jezebel spirit. They're high up because they can get the most fuel, the most supply. So yeah, it goes so deep, guys. Like, I can do so many videos on all these different things. But again, we're talking about the soul tie. If you see or hear about them, you're overly emotional. So if someone brings up the narcissist or you see them walking by, does it create strong emotions? My ex, like from years ago that I bought a house with and had a good, not toxic relationship with, if I saw her, would not faze me whatsoever. I'd be like super happy for her, even if she was married with someone. I'd be like, I'm so happy for you. Like, wouldn't be emotional about it at all. But you see a narcissist, when you have a soul tie, whew, I think about it. I do, and I still think about this. I'm like, God, I just hope that I never see her again. I'm like, dear Jesus, please don't let me see her walking down the street. I'm like, I don't want to get pulled back in that. And you know how manipulating they are. They're extremely manipulating. You know, I trust myself, but like, I know how charismatic she is and her looks. She was a Playboy model, like I said. She knows she can rope men back in easily. Even off of the looks plus the charismatic, the words, they know exactly what to say. They know how to manipulate your mind. So that's why you have to break the soul tie and become the best version of yourself and become mentally and emotionally strong so that they can't rope you back in anymore. Another sign you're in a soul tie is you're holding on to false hope. You're holding on to false hope and reconciliation. This one I had for a while as well. We hope that the narc will change, right? You know, we thought we saw a future with them. So the thought of reconciliation is often in our minds. And that just holds us back from becoming our best self. When you're holding out on hope for the narc, you're pretty much saying you're putting your life on hold. You're waiting. You're waiting for the narcissist to change. You're waiting for some miracle to happen for reconciliation. This is a 100% sign that you are in a soul tie. Another great sign, not great, but like another big sign is you carry a twisted sense of loyalty to the narc. See, they're masters of manipulation. They know exactly what they're doing. When you get out of that narcissistic relationship, in the beginning, I felt this one as well, like a weird sense of loyalty. Like I owed them something. That's why I didn't start the narcissistic YouTube channel for a long time. Or I didn't start the series on narcissism, because it was like, I felt like loyal, like a weird sense of loyalty. Like, oh, I can't be bad mouthing. Not that I'm like bad mouthing her specifically. I'm not like saying her in-depth details of her whole life or anything like that, but it's still like you're going against them. You're going against the grain. They don't want this. You're loyal to a fault to them. So if you feel that loyalty, another sign that you are definitely in a soul tie. If you have difficulty moving on or imagining a life without them, another great sign that you're in I keep saying great, another sign that you're in a soul tie, right? If you have trouble like imagining your life without them, and you can't move on, you're always thinking about them, you're ruminating about them, you feel emotional, you're having all these different feelings throughout the day. You have to understand too, in the soul tie, because you're connected, you're going to be feeling their feelings. You're going to be hearing their thoughts. And I talk about this a little bit in the telepathy video. I'll do probably 3 or 4 telepathy videos because it goes really in depth, but oftentimes your thoughts aren't even your own thoughts. That telepathy, you might be thinking some weird shit and you're like, what the hell, why am I thinking this? Randomly. Happened to me hundreds and hundreds of times. Where I'll be like walking in like a CVS and I'll just start feeling like super sad or angry or something. Like just random. I'm like, what? Where did that come from? It's because you got that soul tie with the narc. You're feeling all those feelings, all those thoughts. And these things, it does take time to break the cycle. Everyone dreams of like having a six-pack, losing all the body fat, getting all the muscle, and everyone wants to take a pill and just wake up the next day. That's not how life works. Or you want to be a millionaire. You're going to wake up the next day and become a millionaire. It doesn't work like that. It's the same thing with this. Like breaking a soul tie, it's not like you just break it and then the next day you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm free. No, it doesn't work like that. It takes time. But I think it's good because, let's just say you woke up tomorrow and you were in the fittest shape of your life. You would enjoy it for a day and then you'd be on to the next thing and be like, oh, well, what next? What next? Because you don't learn to appreciate it. When you put in all that time and hard work, you end up appreciating it much more, right? If you got everything you wanted, you just would want more. You have to suffer through the pain in order to get the growth. And that's why we appreciate things. I'm going to talk about I can never pronounce this, ecclesiastes. It's in the Bible. It's 4:12, and it's a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So I'm going to talk about this. This is why they call the narcissistic soul tie a bond, a 3-string attachment. It's not 1 string, it's 3 strings. Because what you have to understand, when you have a normal, healthy relationship with someone, it's just 1 string, right? Sorry, I had to cut it right there. I got a package at the door. I got to put in a vent in my house because the screen broke and the mosquitoes are eating me alive at nighttime. But anyway, where was I? Okay, a cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken. So you think about 1 strand, right, with a normal, healthy person. Usually, still can take time, but once that strand is broken, you heal. The reason they call it a narcissistic soul tie, the unbreakable bond, is because it's 3. It's 3 strands, 3 ropes tied together. That's why it's so difficult and can take years, decades. I've heard people decades to get over a narcissistic relationship. And the reason with this is the 3 strands compromise. The 3 strands make up the versions of a narcissist. So strand 1 would be the version 1 of the narcissist, which would be in the beginning, the love bombing phase, right? That's a version of the narcissist. When they're giving you everything, they're giving you gifts, they're giving you love, they're showing you appreciation, You know, it's what you wanted the whole time, is that version 1. But the problem is that version was not real. It wasn't real. So that's one strand. The second strand is the cruel, manipulative, the lying, the deceitful version of the narcissist that you get after the love bombing stage, the devaluing narcissist. The version 2 that is the mean, the arrogant, the conceited, the just awful version of the narcissist that you just, I don't want to say hate, but like you are traumatized by. And that's what the trauma bond is. The trauma bond is that second version of the narcissist. And the problem is, as long as you're tied to that first version of the narcissist, you're tied to the second version of the narcissist. So these two make up the two strands that need to be broken. The third strand is it's a tie to the dreams of a future with them, right? You know, you're holding on to that dream that essentially spares you the pain of acknowledging that the future has been shattered, right? You're holding on to this possible future dream of the narcissist. And that's what makes up the three strands that you have to break every single one. And again, when you have the trauma bond, because the soul tie and the trauma bond are two totally different things, but they go hand in hand. When you have the soul tie with the trauma bond, which is the version 2, the second strand, the abusive strand, that all goes hand in hand. So you are tied together with that narcissist on more than one aspect. You have the soul tie plus the trauma bond. And then you're holding on to the possible amazing future with the narcissist. And that's why it's so difficult to break these ties, because there's three different aspects that go into it. You know, narcissists pretend to be your soulmate. I've heard this so many times. My narc did the same thing. And she said this. Every single person that ever came into her life thought they were her soulmate. It's crazy. And when that happens, when that false illusion of being a soulmate happens, that's where the future part comes from, the strand 3, because you're like, oh, I met my soulmate finally. So you're holding on to this future idolization of the narcissist, that it could be this happy, loving soulmate relationship that you finally found the one and everything is going to work out great. Never works that way. And the way they create this soul tie is through the emotional manipulation. Because once they have control of your emotions, you are a slave. You are a slave. The soul tie has been created. The trauma bond has been created. And that's where it becomes very difficult to get out of. And the soul tie ends up creating codependency. And a lot of times, codependency isn't just created from the narcissist. We have codependency prior to the narcissist. It just gets pulled out from that. And codependency is just an excessive resilience on other people for approval and a sense of identity. You know, the validation of the approval of others is, you know, the codependent aspect of it. And I had this. Guilty. I had this. It sucks. There's so much that goes into it. Like when you would think about going through a regular relationship, then people don't even know. People that have gone through narcissistic relationships, you know, it's absolutely crazy. You try and explain it to people and they're like, what? Like they just don't understand, because it's just on a whole nother level. It's pure evil. And so you have to understand that the soul tie takes two. It's not just the narcissist, it's you as well, especially if you're an empath or a super empath. Because what happens is we bury a lot of things deep down inside of us. We bury our traumas down, right? And that's essentially bringing out your shadow self. And you have to ask yourself, What traumas have you buried deep down inside? What is your childhood like? And a lot of times people don't have enough self-awareness to understand that. Like I definitely had I seeked validation and approval from others, codependent as well. I was abandoned and neglected, put in foster care when I was a child. So I always felt like I wasn't good enough, always felt like I never had enough self-worth. And the narcissist knows this. That's why they pick us. Because when they pick us and we're not aware, we don't have the self-awareness of our shadow side, we don't know that we're codependent, we don't know that we have these traumas, the narcissist sees that and they're like, yes, got another one, because that's how they can emotionally manipulate. If you know that you're working on your self-worth or you're working on the codependency and you're shifting away from that, the narcissist isn't going to choose you, because that's where they derive all of their power and pleasure from. Because the narcissist thrives off of your pain, right? When a narcissist looks in your eyes, they know what you are feeling. And if it's pain, that gives them a high. They get pleasure out of feeling that pain because that's what they have always known inside of them. So they can feel it. A narcissist soul tie, this is the good thing from having a soul tie, is that it can, if you choose, to set you on an awakening, to set you on a spiritual journey. It's a choice though, and I always say to people, if you want to become the best version of yourself, go on the spiritual journey, become awakened. When you start cultivating that self-awareness after a narcissistic relationship, again, it takes two, look at the aspects of your deep shadow self. What made you and the narcissist come together? What things do you have deep down inside that you need to work on? Do you have the codependency? Do you have to work on your self-worth? It could be a lot of different things. Do you seek validation from others? So once you start becoming aware of those things and you recognize them, then you can start working on them. And this is how you become the best version of yourself. Because oftentimes, we're like these, it's like we have a reservoir tank in our body for trauma. And when we go through traumas throughout life, we don't sit with the pain because the pain is too great. So we push the pain deep down inside. And what happens over a lifetime, a decade, 20 years, 30 years, that reservoir fills up, right? Because we haven't released it. We haven't sat with it and let it go. And when it fills up, it starts overflowing. And when that reservoir tank starts overflowing, the anger, the resentment, the pain, it all starts leaking into other aspects of your life. If you have meltdowns here and there, or like you get road rage, there's a reason for that. It's because your reservoir tank is filled with trauma that you have not healed. So this is why it's so important to go on a spiritual journey and have the self-awareness to fix all those things that you've dealt with your whole life that you buried deep down inside. And the narcissist knows this. The narcissist loves those people that have all those traumas. That's what creates the bond. That's how they get their fuel source. Because if you know your self-worth, if you have strong boundaries, you're not codependent, you're not a people pleaser, you're not going to be chosen by the narcissist. You don't want to be chosen by the narcissist. When you become the best version of yourself, a narcissist is not going to choose you. They want low-hanging fruit. They want the easy way out. They're not going to take on a super strong person that has everything in order, their boundaries, they're unfuckwithable. Narcissist is going to choose that person. So that's why it's important after your first narcissistic relationship, if you keep attracting narcissists, it's because you haven't gone on a spiritual journey. You haven't awakened. You haven't worked on your shadow self. That's the reason. So you need to heal. After a narcissistic relationship, take time to heal. Don't just suppress it and try and move on, because you're going to get another narcissist. And it's just going to compound and keep getting worse. That trauma is already built up inside you. You need to sit with it and let it go. You need to heal and move on. That's the only way that you can become authentically yourself. Sorry guys, that was a super long video. I was going to do the how to break it in this, and I'm like, God, this video will be forever. I want to keep it in parts. So if you think you have a soul tie, if any of those things reached out to you, then I highly recommend you watch this video this week of how to break the soul tie. Again, I'll do it in two different aspects, one spiritual and one more godly, and you can choose which way works best for you. And it really does work. If you do it over time, you can break the soul tie, the unbreakable bond. You can get out of it and you can live your best life. You can stop ruminating about the narcissist. You can move on and stop having hope that they're going to change. Stop thinking that there's going to be a reconciliation. You can live your best life and attract someone of equal reciprocity to you. When you are healed, you are going to attract someone else that is healed. If you are not healed, you don't do the self-awareness to understand what's been buried deep down inside, you're going to keep attracting those toxic type of people. You don't want to do that for the rest of your life. You don't want to have a kid with someone like that. Then you're trapped forever. I'll do videos about this. If you have kids, there are ways to set up strong boundaries and to still heal. It's just a little bit more in depth and it takes time. But let's finish the video with that. And I'm so grateful you guys are here. And I thank you all for all the comments and the subscribes and the likes. Let's just get this out to as many people as possible. Let's try and heal the world. It's all about healing and giving the best version of yourself. And that's why I'm here, is just to help people become their most authentic self so that they can have an abundant, happy life. That we don't need to sit in the pain of a narcissistic relationship for the rest of our lives. Don't go 10 years thinking about the narcissist every day. That is not living. That is slavery. All right, guys, take care. I will talk to you guys soon. I'll get that soul tie video out within the next couple days on how to break it, and you guys will be well on your journey. Enjoy the day, stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy the Sunday. Talk to you guys later.